So I'm the author of this book, How to Become Fearless, a practical guide for destroying fear and living with freedom by Jay Mistry. I'm Jay Mistry. And what I want to talk to you today is about how to write your first ever book. It doesn't have to actually be a longer process than you may think. So I'm just going to get into what I did to write this book, and then you just may be inspired to be like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. So just quickly get to the contents page. This here is the contents page. There's 33 different sections of this book, okay? Maybe you want to like snapshot that right there. But the thing is about this, right? So fear was a topic I had like a lot of experience in. I experienced fear for a lot of my life. I read everything there was to learn about fear, and then I was able to distill all my lessons by applying them out in the real world, and then figuring out what actually works best for me and what best works for other people when I'm like speaking to them and stuff like that. And these 33 strategies are what I've found to be the best in terms of busting fear, right? In terms of like getting over fear, reprogramming fear, and like eradicating it from your life entirely, as well as using it to your advantage rather than to your detriment, right? So this was a concept in my mind. Now I need to get this into paper, and it turned out to be 156 pages worth of content. So roughly about 60,000 words, I believe. And how did I do this? So one, the concept was there. It's all about fear, how to become fearless. Number two, it's all about writing down the main concepts of your like thesis. So the main concepts in my mind here were the introduction, obviously just kind of like brief about the book. Section 1, which is heightening your awareness of fear. Section 2, which is reframing fear. And section 3, which is death, the final element. And without all these things, you cannot become fearless, right? So once I had these thoughts in my mind, I was like, okay, this type of section I need to beef out. The second reframing section I need to beef out, and the death reframing section I need to beef out as well. Now, then I looked into all my notes, all my readings that I found, and wrote down the titles of the chapter. So for example, you can see there, conditioning fear, social fear and excitement, fear and understanding, fear in society, freeze mode, pain and suffering, fear of rejection and the ego, etc., right? So these are all different concepts that I have in mind. So all you're writing down right now on the contents page is just the concepts that you want to flesh out later, right? And this is like crucial, because if you don't do this, you don't know what to write about, basically. So write down all your chapter names, or roughly what you want to talk about per chapter or per section. And then now you're in a point where you can actually start writing, okay? Now, this book, it starts off with a story, so I had that story in mind, so I just started writing the story out. But then, of course, there are points in the book where you're like, okay, what should I write for this section? How should I start it off? How should I actually like word this section here? And my best advice for this, after like looking at a fair few authors and seeing their techniques and then distilling my own kind of technique from it, is to literally go onto, I've got Microsoft Word, so go onto Microsoft Word or wherever you want to write this, put it into focus mode, okay, so you don't see anything, you don't see all the like taskbar stuff or like the mouse moving or anything like that. You just see a blank page. Get into a dark room, which is what I have right now, so if I turn the lights off and stuff, it'll be completely dark in here, and I can just have enough light to see my keyboard and the pages and that are on the screen, right? I prefer this like rather than handwriting. I prefer to just like, because I feel like you can type faster, way faster than you can write properly, right? And all you want to do is spill your ideas onto the page. And this is very, very rough draft. So you don't want to like think about, oh, how should I word this bit? No, you just want to get all your ideas out. So for example, the first one, conditioning fear. So in my mind, for conditioning fear, this would be something that I want to convey to the reader, that your fear is conditioned over time rather than it's just you've been born with it, basically. You have a few fears that have been born with you, like fear of falling and things like coming at you, like things just getting projected at you, you want to like flinch back, right? These are like inherently built into us, hardwired into us. But most of the fears that you're thinking of are like conditioned over time by society. So don't speak to that person, don't go over and shake that person's hand, they may be aggressive, or that person looks really tough, he may beat me up, or if I walk down this black alley at night, it will, like, someone might jump out and rob me. And you watch all these movies and you watch all these different things that are programming you for, like, serial killers, psychology stuff, like thrillers. All this stuff is all conditioned, right? So how am I going to get this into ideas on the page? So what I'm just going to write down is like psychological fears. These are condition-based fears. These are society-based fears. I'm going to write all these different stuff down, and then I'm just going to like flesh out each little section of that. So okay, society-based fears. So when your mum told you not to do that, or don't speak to strangers, this is something that society has programmed you, your mum being your society, and you can now flesh this little section out. So you've got now a document which has it has the rough chapters that you want to talk about, the sections, the chapters, and now you've got like a little bit of detail about this chapter in particular, so conditioned fear. Now what you want to do is encapsulate it all into perhaps a story, a list, or or like some kind of bullet points. So you have like some points basically, or like a list of like steps, for example. And for this one, I think there was a story. So I just started typing. So, and with the process here, you don't need to really like get into like exactly what I wrote, right? But the process is what I'm trying to teach here, which is literally just let your fingers move. So in the beginning, you're like, okay, I don't know what to type. I'm just going to type something until something comes along. And so you just type, just like, and then, or even if you just want to type gibberish, just get your fingers moving, right? This is the technique that is like really worked fantastically well for me. Then all of a sudden you just press like enter, get to the next line, and you're like, okay, let me start another line here. So cool, next line. Do that a few times. This is where writer's block comes in, because you're like, it's the beginning of something, your train hasn't moved. Like, you know, they say like a body at motion tends to stay at motion, a body at rest tends to stay at rest. Currently you're in rest, right? So you need to get into motion. So all you need to do is just get your fingers moving, get your mind moving, and then just start stringing sentences together. Hi, my name is Jay. Today I'm not sure what to write, but I'm just going to start typing and see what happens, blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden, you do that for a few minutes. Now your brain is moving. Now everything's working. Now your hands, you feel a bit more alive. And now you're like, all right, cool, let me start writing here. So you can get into your actual chapter now. So conditioning fear. The process of being conditioned in fear is blah, blah, blah. And now you just write freely to your heart's content, right? And it could last for, let's just have an hour block, for example, right? Type furiously. Don't worry about edits. Don't worry about if you misspelled anything. Try not to use the back key. Only press enter to kind of get you to the next line, and have some like another line in between, so there's some clearness to it. After an hour, you want to review what you've just written and then tighten it up slightly. So take out all the errors, like reword spellings that you've done wrong. Keep sentences together, and at this point you're still not getting the final draft. You're just getting to a point where you're like, okay, this like is a coherent potential chapter right here. I can potentially flesh this out a little bit more. So this chapter, I wanted it to be like 3,000 words, but it's only like 500, and that's okay. Now you have room for things to come in. So you've got the kind of concept in mind. Now you fill in stories within those concepts. And so you're like, for fear is conditioning in society. Okay, here's a story of me or someone I knew being in conditioning in society. That has beefed up that little first section by 500 words now. So you're a sixth of the way to your entire chapter amount of words that you want in your chapter. And literally that is the process of writing an entire book. If you just copied and pasted what I've just said there, so start off with your sections, start off with the contents, create your sections, create your chapter names, flesh out some ideas for the concepts you want to talk about in your chapter, do a very rough draft of the concepts that you've written down, insert stories within the concepts, and flesh them out to a point where you want it to, like, this looks like a good standalone chapter. That's great. And then of course you want to move on from there. You don't want to perfect that, right? You want to, because right now while you're in the writing phase, you want to stay in the writing phase, not in the perfection stage, not in the like precision phase. You just want to get all your ideas out during this period. And I don't know, a book of 60,000 words, you want to spend probably like a month or two just like writing. Then you're going to get to the editing phase later, but like you just want it to be like coherent, you want it to flow well, you want it to like go into the previous chapter and the next chapter, or have a story arc kind of like intertwined with each other to a point where it's just like, okay, this is like a good flow for this book up till this point. What you'll find is if you edit it too much in the beginning and then go back to the initial writing phase where you're like, all right, blah 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 blah, words on a page, don't know what to write, etc., you will be you're not basically batching your work together. It's like me recording this YouTube video, then editing it, and then uploading it, then doing a thumbnail for it, then doing the title for it, doing the SEO for it, then putting it out, then going back to the camera, then recording another video. You're doing like way too many like different steps. Whereas if I just stayed in the creation phase, which is, all right after this video, I'm going to pause it, go to my notes, check out another concept I want to talk about, and record another video. This hour is now allotted for recording videos, right? Extrapolate that into your book writing. So this 2-month period is only for ideas. The next 2-month period is only for honing those ideas and fleshing them out and creating more stories within those ideas. The next 2-month period can be editing, like not for a final draft, but just like a rough edit, getting it nice and like compact. The next period could be, all right, I need to flesh out a little bit more perhaps, so let me go back a step and add in more. The next stage could be editing again, and then there's another final edit, which is like, all right, now it's pretty much ready for distribution. That's the type of process you want to use when you come to write a book. This is what the process I used, and I think I took about a good 6 months or so to get to where I felt like, oh, okay, the book is good and I want to put it out now. And then the like logistics of actually setting it up and finding a publisher. I used Amazon, print on demand, and Kindle. So that is it's not the easiest process, but there's plenty of tutorials out there where you can kind of like figure it out. So look, I hope that helped in terms of the whole writing process. If you like this type of content, like this channel, subscribe to the channel and all of that good stuff. Check the link out below for my community. We can talk more about these type of things in depth, and you can join our community and have great chats with me directly as well as other community members. So I hope to see you over there. I'll see you later.